Are there a sort of top 5 things that you would recommend someone who's currently in a lease to think about? Or is that a
Um,
monstrously unfair question?
I think it's all got to be about future planning, hasn't it? Because this is how I think, from a very personal perspective, how I think coronavirus will change the face of leasing is people are going to be looking for shorter term leases until coronavirus becomes so historic that it's not in anyone's living memory. I think it's bitten people hard, and it showed up, some flaws in the way we deal with property, perhaps in the UK, that are all historic. We have a very old-fashioned view with landlord and tenant work. Perhaps the structure doesn't work anymore. And so, if I was talking to someone about what they would do going forward, it would be think about shorter-term leases, or think about flexibility, making sure that you can break and you can break easily. Perhaps build in, the force majeure and the concession already, so should a pandemic come, and we saw a lot of short-term provisions for deals that were done during lockdown, perhaps they might become the norm, where we're seeing leases that provide for some rent concession structure in the event of another shutdown. I would imagine landlords are going to resist that. Flexibility has to be the key. Certainly in things like retail, where they've had turnover rents, you should be looking very hard at what you're obliged to pay if you have no turnover. They often have base rates in them. Turnover rents, then, if you're in an office, you don't pay a turnover rent. So perhaps look at the more flexible office modules. Traditionally, we called them service offices. I think they're called turnkey now. You walk in, you've got one room. Next month, you can have 2 rooms. But I'd always offer a word of warning about those type of flexible service office things. And people sign them up because they think this is really flexible, and then when they look, they've got them for a year, and if they don't serve notice, they've got them for another year, and that's not quite so flexible as being able to move your office requirements on a kind of quarterly or monthly basis. So I think it's not so much a top 5, but if you're looking forward, it's look at short-term leases, more flexibility, building in some kind of structure for a concession or a rent-free should the same thing happen again. And could you work in an environment that was a shared office space? Does your business lend itself to that? The irony of coronavirus is it stopped hot desking. For a lot of big employers, the main bar in getting staff back to the office has been the cost of compliance with health and safety. So I think perhaps people will have that in mind. What do I need to do if I need people in the office? Really, how am I going to operate my business? Are we going to have some people at home, some people working? And then how much space and how much flexibility do I need around that? But it's a hard question to answer.